Friends, it's been an entire full year and a half since Crusader Kings III released, and in all this time, we haven't had a single game-changing expansion to this game. Other than the Northern Lords flavor pack, CK3 has been the only modern Paradox game to have had this few objective changes to all factions, until now. Because now, we have been blessed with Royal Court, an expansion that is at once sorely needed to enhance this relatively samey adventure, and which has become absolutely necessary for me to enjoy this game more than ever. But does that really mean that Royal Court is something you should buy? Well, that's what we're here to find out. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you leave a like and consider supporting me on Patreon for more awesome content. And now, Crusader Kings III Royal Court. Finally. One of my biggest disappointments of CK3 was that it lacked so much content when comparing it to the fully operational CK2. The comparison is perhaps unfair, but still, the content in CK2 is just massive after all these years, but in terms of launch states, CK3 is obviously much more fleshed out. But to me, the game offered very little that I could not get in CK2, feeling kinda like not that much more than a visually and mechanically modernized experience. Now though, the game has finally received a massive update and perhaps the most visible altering and game separating feature, which finally makes CK3 a game in its own right. And it comes down to aspects that simply weren't possible in CK2. The most notable innovation in Royal Court is by far the Royal Court itself, which is now not only visually revolutionary in terms of Paradox games, but which also houses several neat and fun things to do. I want to take a moment to show you what is here. We obviously have the court itself, which looks beautiful. The visuals also change whether you're playing as a Western Christian, a Southern Christian, or an Arab Sultan. But what's more is that you are the owner here, and so it's up to you to decorate, so to speak. Over the course of the years then, your modest court may go from looking like this to looking like this. And even though it's not a total overhaul, it's definitely enough room here to customize it with various banners of different colors and artifacts of your choosing. All of this requires various other things to happen first though. Royal courts are reserved for kings and emperors only, but that doesn't mean that everything is a dance on roses for these royals. You see, more or less everything surrounding your court revolves around a new mechanic called Grandeur, which basically determines how attractive and luxurious your court is compared to those of others. Grandeur is based on a scale of levels 1 to 10, and each level gives you various bonuses to Chancellor skills or other kingdom and player-wide bonuses, including attracting quality courtiers to your court. Increasing Grandeur may be done in several ways, among them upgrading your court's facilities with better interior and servants, and other things happening behind the scenes and outside the courtroom. Holding court increases Grandeur as well, and the same is the case for owning and displaying artifacts, one of the other new aspects of Royal Court. If you manage to have a higher Grandeur level than your court level suggests, you'll get additional bonuses as well. I think all these systems are amazing frankly, and the court system has become such an integral part of the game for me that I would never wish to be without it. I nevertheless feel like it's somewhat too easy to achieve a higher Grandeur level than your level suggests though, as I managed to take my court from being number 32 all the way to the second most illustrious court in the world within the lifespan of just one character. And this was done as Castile, meaning I managed to pay for wars with fellow Christians and Muslims while my court was undergoing some serious renovations in a manner of about 30 years or so. Artifacts have finally made the journey from CK2, and I have to say they're better than ever, although not perfect yet. I love that we can now have artifacts made for us, equip them ourselves to gain various bonuses to king and country, and even physically display them in court for even more Grandeur goodness. But I do wish they would have added the same love to personal inventory artifacts as they did to the court ones, as it would have been really nice to actually see your character wear that awesome armor and weapon they've gained on their person rather than just in some menu. The artifact system is a wonderful first step though, and I'm really psyched that it's finally back. The same goes for the courtier system, which also makes a return from CK2, albeit in a more advanced form. Courtiers can now be appointed to various prestigious roles, and if you played CK2 you'll immediately recognize many of these names. Giving out titles like Master of the Hunt or Horse, High Almoner or Bodyguard will not only give you realm bonuses, but it will also make the chosen character like you more. It's a really cool system that sort of makes up a secondary Chancellor system, if that makes sense, and some of these, like Court Artificer and Antiquarian, will be extremely useful now that you'll have artifacts to maintain. You'll actually need to pay more attention to these positions than you might think though, as depending on the character's aptitude, meaning how skilled they are in the profession, they can make a big difference in the area you assign them to. And I, for one, welcome our new courtier servants. Just like with the court amenities themselves, however, maintaining a good number of courtier positions will cost you in terms of upkeep every month, meaning it's important to make sure you actually have the funds to maintain and pay them while fighting your wars and bribing people left and right. The other sign of the shining coin that is Royal Court is the cultural system, which has been completely revamped since launch. Cultures are now based on pillars and traditions, meaning that every single culture has unique traits and features unique to them. In this way, you may choose to play to your culture's strengths and continue your legacy by developing your culture into a path of your own choosing. It's possible to pick traditions by paying prestige now. And not only do I think the system is a wonderful fresh of breath air in terms of cultural development compared to what we had before, but I absolutely love the new artwork that comes with it. Paradox has a tradition of displaying excellent event artwork in their games, and Royal Court is no different, so massive props to the talented artists here. What's more though, is that it's now possible to create your own hybrid or diverging culture by combining features of cultures present in your realm. This costs prestige as well, but instead of adding on to what's already there, diverging allows you to create a completely new combination of traditions and pillars, essentially creating your own culture fit with its very own color, features, language, and aesthetics. Even though I think doing so could create something of a wider felt stability hit to your realm and vassals, as you're essentially doing what Alexander tried to do here, the feature itself is genius, and the customization options are just as interesting. At the intersection between your court and culture is the new language system, which affects several aspects of the game now. Not only do every character speak at least one language based on where they're from, but it's also possible to learn up to several other languages if you so wish. Doing so will affect your relationship with characters who speak the same language as you. But language also has an effect on the court system. Every court has its own court language, and the more vassals tied to the court and language, the more grandeur you'll garner. I think the language system is awesome because you really feel like you're making your characters more unique than they've ever been. But, if I had to say one thing, is that I wish they'd taken this system even further. Just like in Imperator Rome, where you're unable to communicate with factions outside your diplomatic range, I wish language barriers were an actual thing here, forcing you to employ diplomats or messengers who spoke the language of the foreign court in order to meaningfully interact with them. Crusader Kings III Royal Court has been a long time in the making, but it's finally here and it's turned out to be one of the most game-changing expansions Paradox has ever released. Not only does it add a completely new visual space never seen before in these games, but the mechanics surrounding it are vast and exciting. From holding court to maintain realm relations, to artifacts, courtier positions, and the entirely new cultural system which gives so much more control to you, the player, Royal Court finally provides CK3 with a massive feature its predecessor did not already have. All in all, I cannot imagine playing CK3 without Royal Court now, and I think that says it all on how both awesome this expansion is, and how much CK3 was in dire need of more content. Thank you so much for watching. Have you been waiting for Royal Court for as long as I have? And if so, are you going to play it? Let me know both that and your thoughts on the new features in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, I really hope you leave a like and consider becoming a Patreon subscriber, which allows me to continue making more content just like this, and more. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.